So welcome to our first of the vocal master classes. I'm going to step back here so it doesn't feedback. First off, in our list of presenters, we have I don't know if I can call him the godfather of choral music in the Army. I don't know if that's a good title. But the legend that is Major Len Ballantine. It is really exciting for him to be with us today. He was the leader of the International Staff Songsters and now currently the leader of the Canadian Staff Songsters, our sister brigade up in the north. So it's great to have him. He's a legend. You're going to learn lots from him. So I will stop talking and get out the way. Let a real person start talking. So, Major Len. Your turn.
Thank you, John. Well, I'd like to thank whoever plugged this in at 3 o'clock for giving me the graveyard shift. This is wonderful. I'm sure you should be at the canteen. If this is camp, 3 o'clock is canteen time, isn't it? If you think I'm asking you a rhetorical question, just answer anyway, because I have lots of times that I want you to respond. I want you to be working with the words and thinking about the music making and making it physical, even though there's this crazy distance and the electronics separating us. My approach to choral leadership is based on words, on music, and on motivation. I've given a lot of thought to this hour, and I hope I do the time justice, because there's so much that I'd like to speak about that is unique to choral leadership. And it's unique because there's words. It is the only musical medium that communicates concretely. And how great for us as ministers of the sung gospel to have words to communicate, and not just pretty pictures that we're carving out of a flawed, untuneful instruments or whatever, but we have words first of all. So words come first. And then I try to make my approach to the choral experience about the music, about musical line, about things that make music what it is, organic and soul-filled. You can't make music unless you are a musician, unless you understand what music is all about. The ups and downs of it, the flow of it, what makes things lovely. First comes words, then comes music, and then something that I'm broadly calling motivation, because it involves reaching the people that are standing in front of you and pulling them from where they are as pedestrians. And let's face it, we all began in a congregation long before we sang in a real choral group. So the singers that I have stood before in the last 50 years have been largely pedestrians with a little bit of experience in an ensemble singing, and they sing from a pedestrian base. So motivating them to come where I want them to go is a big part of what I spend my time doing. And I motivate, but sometimes by being silly, by being open, by being honest, by being whimsical, by being quirky. Motivation, capturing interest, maintaining it. If you're a male, then you've got a chance, and it's mostly a female group in front of you, so you have the chance of being a charming individual, if that's within your capability. You don't want to be too charming. You want to know the lines of important boundaries within leadership, but motivating your female singers by using your whimsy and your personality is great. That's what you should be doing. And men, you've got to figure out how to unlock men. I find men entirely respond to me entirely differently. So my tactics with men are a little different. I try to play the same game that they're playing. I don't try to, adopt more maleness to attract their attention and keep it. but I'm aware of the difference between males and females and leading them and the motivation. I've got to motivate them to sing like I want them to sing, or they will always sing like congregation. Here's a not rhetorical question. Do you like words? My approach to choral singing, choral music making, directing is based on words. I would like you to say ensemble with me that word. Words. Ready? Go. Words. Say that word as a choral response to my asking you, do you like words? Give me the impression that you adore the fact that you form language with your face, with your teeth, with your lips. Words. What else have we got to work with? We can't press a valve and squeeze a little and make a note. We have to shape our air around a word. So as a leader, I've got to love them, respect them, know how they're made, know the mechanics of words. But more so, I have to understand what the word means within the context of the musical line, within the phrase, and then give the phrase more meaning, because all my singers are thinking about that one word that is important, that we have to do something to. And I would demonstrate what I want them to do to it, give it more emphasis, make it clear with diction, support it differently, a better vowel, something, something specific that will make that important word, that operative word, all that it can be within a phrase. So if you like words, if you like the way they feel on your lips and your teeth and your tongue, and you like playing with them, if you like reading poetry or prose or anything that has the resonance, so many times I go back to my King James Version and read the familiar passages that I grew up on in that context, because there is something about the rhythm that is instilled deeply. And I love the way the rhythm of the words fall. Now, there's great translations today, rhetorical ones that are given, especially for reading. Options there. But the way that words play, if you like them, that's a big asset. Say with me, muffins this morning, as if you are delighted with the idea of having one. Ready? Muffins
this morning.
Okay, I hear somebody, and that is wonderful feedback. Try it again. And muffins this morning. I come down the stairs and there's something in the air, and I sniff. There's muffins this morning. And it's the M on muffins that gives that phrase its projection. I change entirely the way the impact, the emotional level of what I'm saying, by the weight that I put on the M on muffin. Muffins this morning. Now say, ain't no mountain high enough. Go. Ain't no mountain high enough. As if you're delighted with the idea that there is nothing that can stand between you and the love of your Heavenly Father. Confession, I plucked that phrase out of the air because I wanted something that was, kind of interesting to say and dramatic. And then I looked it up on YouTube and discovered that it was, of course, Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell from the 60s singing a wonderful song that was from the Motown era. But nevertheless, they weren't singing about the mountain that would keep the love of God from reaching them. They were singing about another kind of love. But that phrase, when you fill it with energy and ain't no mountain high enough, to be able to do that in front of your choir, to be able to demonstrate it, to be able to think it, to be able to discover it, and then to draw it out of your people. That is what's exciting about choral music, because it involves people with a language that they know, and they find that they can express meaning on less than a phone book level, differently than they did when they sat in the congregation. So words have the potential to express beyond what they mean on face value, is clearly what I'm saying. And that's why my approach to choral singing is based firstly on words. The singer is not like any other music maker with an instrument, because words, she's able to concretely communicate ideas. Language imports direct meaning to the listener. If she's a pop artist, I mean, you've probably heard more pop music in your life than you have choral groups. Let's face it. You haven't got Salvation Army songster CDs under your bed. You're watching YouTube now, and you've got pop music. The pop artist or the opera star has learned to add personality and insight into her interpretation of songs. So she has a really great opportunity to communicate something through her art. Everything from concrete images, thoughts, feelings, whimsy, indifference, boldness, to sing to the pop singer or someone who is an artist with words. The text is only the beginning. When you really come to look at a song and work on it, the text gets you there. It gives you words to work with, and there are moments that you move to and away from. Watch, some lover, some hater. Celine Dion is so invested in the projection of the meaning of her songs. She does it as an artist. She does it as a performer. And of course, she's over the top. But we need just the right amount of that awareness to go into our leadership, that we can pull out that necessary quality out of every singer, as complacent or as stiff or as immobile as they come to you on a Tuesday night and sit in their chairs. So if it's true for the commercial world, it is certainly true for the sacred world. We have to learn how to use words. We have to know them and love them, understand which ones are more important, and draw our people, our singers, towards the points in the phrase where those words can help massage the phrase. Good. Just jump to an example here, excuse me. If you have a golden retriever at home, perhaps you share the dilemma of what to do with the stuffing after the life comes out of it. Quincy, Daddy's busy, okay? Come on. All right. Here's a musical line that has obvious shape, and I'm going to sing it like someone who would audition for the Canadian Staff Songsters would sing it. And we're both nervous. And this is how it sounds. When morning gilds the skies, my heart awakening cries, may Jesus Christ be praised. I wasn't trying to sound awful. That's my real voice. But it's not how I would want it sung chorally. I was giving an account of where the line was going, but I wasn't really invested in words along the way. If I was, it would sound more like this. When morning gilds the skies, my heart awakening cries, to Jesus Christ be praised. I would overdo that if I was demonstrating that for my choir. I would sing it like that, and I wouldn't expect all of them to sing that like that back at me, but I would expect them to absorb something of what it means to connect an important word and then to take that to the next level and to shape along the way. Do you know the song? Or are you too young now? You've all been raised on worship songs and you don't know what a raising line means. Pardon the sarcasm. I'm 71, so I get to say whatever I please. When morning gilds the skies, that's enough. Say that. When morning gilds the sky. All right, right there, we've already got an M like muffin. When morning, and notice morning may be the word that I'm trying to emphasize, but it starts with when. When morning. Say those two words, 1 and 2 and 3. When morning. Again, when morning. All right, now I've got a whole crowd of people hopefully saying when morning. Or I've got a whole crowd of people saying when morning. I get it. There's a word and there's an approach to the word that even the approach gives that word some value. So there are no discarded words like when or if or but. When you sing, they're all connected. So it's either coming or going. It's leading somewhere. When morning. And when I get really sticky with my choir, I insist that instead of when morning, like W-E-N, we actually hear the W-H, because the color of 35, 36 people singing when morning, yeah, it's so different from when morning. Oh, come on. I had no idea that I would like this stuff as much as I do. When, as a kid that was supposed to be learning how to play piano at university, I discovered a choral tech class because I had to have an ensemble. I was in the piano performance program. I had to have an ensemble, so I sang. I already played in a brass band. I didn't want to go and play in a band, so I sang. And this guy would take a group of people and he would he would make them sing. And what that means is we connect ideas and important words, and we lead to and we lead away from it. It's either coming or going. It's rising or falling. Everything that I was as a musician, as a pianist, found a place of anchoring, a place of loving the choral experience. And I guess I shouldn't apologize for my tears, but it surely is clear to me why I've dedicated so much of my life to this. There's a crossover here, and I want to talk about it now because while you're still thinking about when morning gilds the skies, my heart awakening cries, may Jesus Christ be praised. While you still got that in your mind, there's a crossover between what one does chorally with words and what one as a musician wants to do with the line. By the time I am finished speaking about words and getting the choir to sing words and where those words take us on that musical phrase journey, we have made music. We have already described the shape of a musical phrase because we've gone where the text leads us. And we didn't have to sit there and go, oh, this is supposed to get louder. Make sure that you sing, may Jesus Christ be praised at the end of it. Make sure that's louder than the other stuff. It's so vastly different. What I'm talking about is decidedly organic, like true music should be. It's all connected. So there's an interplay, an interphase of the words and the text, and the words and the musical. The second point of my approach. I'm working words, but I'm working music at the same time. It's about being great musicians using words. It's our biggest tool. Loving words and being able to bring them out of people, give them meaning, and lift that meaning to the back of the room as people listen to you. Now, a robot can say words without affectation, and that is just about the opposite of what we want in a choral group. It's certainly not what we want in speech. Don't you hate it when you get a mechanical voice giving you instructions? I mean, it's passionless and not interesting. And I've started a few thoughts here that are really important to me. And before I take a moment break and ask for any thoughts and responses and questions, it might be a spot. Let me tell you what my approach to choral conducting is not based on. My approach to choral conducting is not based on the mechanics of conducting patterns. I haven't mentioned it. Go figure. My approach to choral conducting is not based on giving cues. Well, yes, this is where you're in. If you're lost, you know you should not be lost, but there you go, basses. You should be starting now. Oh, it could be sopranos, but usually people that are singing the tune don't lose their place. Neither is my choral directing leadership style based on controlling dynamics. Really? Yeah, really. I try to never make a speech about dynamics, ever. It should all be evident by the way we've learned the music, the way we've come to the phrase. If it's a grand moment, we've installed that in the way that we've learned it, and we've learned the grandness together. And my choir is used to seeing me being grand with my arms outstretched and pulling and. I don't have to talk about, oh, you should sing this a little louder. Let's try it again from the beginning and sing that bit bigger. Never do it. Well, here comes the gut punch if I haven't been supercilious enough. You will never be a real choral conductor if the mechanics of conducting patterns, if giving cues and controlling dynamics are what is most important to you. So find another hobby. Patterns and cueing and dynamics do not get a choir to sing. Patterns and cueing and dynamics do not add essential life to a performance or a phrase. Patterns, cueing, and dynamics do nothing to enrich the meaning or the impact of the music. So I never think about them. I'm just thinking, I'm teaching words and music and trying to convince those that are passive or that are hanging on or that are just there, to be with their friends. And before they know it, they're involved in something that's organic and wonderful, and they don't know why. They just like the experience. Cool. That's what we want. Because if you're approaching choral singing from a technical basis, you will end up with a technical rendition, a soulless delivery, a bunch of automatons who have not been invited to discover the beauty, the glory, the passion, the experience, the soul of music. They've not been invited. You haven't invited them. You haven't demonstrated it. You haven't called it from them. You haven't put their noses in the places where they needed to be to experience glory and soul and heart. You've just let them sing. They're still in the congregation. So how does this stuff that I'm talking about that I can't really show you, but I'm trying to talk in as picturesque terms that I can so that the message has somewhere to land. How do we unlock the soul of music? How do we do that? Well, there's lots of ways. I think primarily, I think of personality. Personality. So if you don't have a personality, maybe teaching or musical leadership is not the field that you should be in, because it's all about personality. It's all about bringing people along on a journey that you're passionate about and getting them to share it and getting them to quicken it. And I think the other things that, before I talk more about the personality, the other things that will unlock the soul of music are word painting and analogies that we can bring, serious or humorous analogies. We have those opportunities that in our tool bag, our leadership tool bag, to bring analogies. So we take something completely out of context because they're not getting, okay? There's an idea that they don't get. So you create a crazy image and you let it go like a balloon and let it fly and see what it does. And if it does nothing except put a smile on their face, you've won. Because you've taken something that has been a challenge and they've failed, and you've tried a few times, and they're kind of feeling the tension. If your analogy does work, perhaps you've moved them persuasively to another level of coming to terms with the phrase. But at least you put a smile on their face, or maybe you've had a giggle with the whole crowd, and that's wonderful. Back to personality, and this is the only one of the three things, that word painting and the analogies and personality, the things that will get to the soul of the music, unlocking the soul. This personality business is the only one that I'm going to open up in any great extent. I think the choir needs to see you being your real self, your true self, your human self, your vulnerable self, your warty self. You're flawed, you're insecure. If all you can do is stand in front of them and do the pretend leadership thing, like, I'm the leader, so I'm just going to be riveted to the floor. I'm in front, I'm in charge. I see this all the time. I see leaders who, because they occupy the space, go into some kind of a set modus. I don't know who they are. They're just some other kind of mechanical creature doing something, but they're not being themselves. And in order to bring personality to the idea of leadership and to get personality out of your performance, you have to show them what it means to have personality. Otherwise, they're going to be imitating a soulless leader. They're going to be imitating the face that is in front of them when they sing. If you're being Mr. or Mrs. Leader, that's the face they're going to give you. And then you'll give them a big speech about how they don't look like they're happy, or they don't look like they're involved, or they don't look like they're giving away the message. And you'd be right in doing so, but they're only reflecting what you're doing because you're just being a leader, or what you think is a leader. Okay. I'm a Kathy will tell you I'm a reserved, quiet, shy perfectionist who would rather be left alone and sit in a corner and suck his thumb while somebody else did something. I certainly wouldn't want to stand in front of a choir naked and afraid, to coin a phrase. Because being in front of a group of people and laying yourself on the line is the most vulnerable thing you can do. Why would anybody want to do that? Well, I suppose if you're getting paid for it, teachers get paid to stand there and take it all day long. Well, I don't think you're ever going to get paid as a choral leader in the Salvation Army. So you must get used to the idea of being naked for no recompense. So know why you're being naked. Know why you have to be vulnerable. Because it's the only way that people know that it's okay to get involved in what they're doing. You've got to unlock your inner actor. I don't mean turn on the tears if you're able to do that. I've been practicing turning on the tears all day long for this moment. Unlock your inner actor. Bring drama to your rehearsals. Bring compelling language and compelling gestures and compelling images. Bring a touch of dramatic to your demands. If you're going to ask for an ordinary thing, don't ask for it in a very ordinary way. Find a cute, quirky, funny, offhand, find a way of getting something simple out of people so that they want to do it. Because if it really is that ordinary but important, you want them to do it. But if you tell them it's in an ordinary way, they're going to do it in an ordinary way. I want to talk about the word when morning. So when I demonstrate it, I'm going to give it a lot of juice. I'm not going to say to them, okay, I want you to use the word when to address the word guild, because it's when morning gilds, right away I'm going into my shtick. I can't undo it. I can't just go when morning. The N on when, as I hear it and I listen to it, the when on the N on when melts into the M on morning, becoming one nasal consonant that is a sung consonant. When morning. And when you press air through that little tiny moment, it ceases to be a little insignificant, stupid thing. It becomes the way that important thought is lifted right out of the context. And I cannot express that without getting excited about it. Oh man. Oh, the dogs are. It's so quick. Yeah, so Quincy, I'm okay. Now, obviously, if you're correcting a note or fine-tuning pitch or saying a prayer, your demeanor will be suitably to the occasion. Your purpose is to connect with to bring the people into the context. Oh, blah, 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 blah. A lot of what I have in my text is reinforcing the ideas that I really have given so much time and passion to. There are always those in the group that get it right away. And they'll get it probably because they may have had a voice lesson years ago, and they can refer to that in their excuse me, I need to take a little break, and I encourage you to do the same.
So while he's doing that, just he's giving you so much gold in like 45 minutes. All week is going to be like this. So you've got those like journals and stuff. You've got your phones. You've got take notes because you're going to literally listen to what they're saying because he's giving you so much gold. I hope that you guys out on the street can hear me because my sensitive. Take notes all week. You're going to
Thank you. John, are we okay to just launch in again?
go for it.
I was talking about the kinds of responses you get when you look at your people. You've tried to demonstrate something. Let's say you're singing the beginning of the Easter hymn, Christ the Lord is risen today. You're singing that chorally. And you've tried several times, and there, you'll always get a few that'll get it right away, and they'll hear what you're doing with the words and with the line, or with whatever you're asking them. Hopefully, you're asking them to shape and to use the word Christ, Christ, to have a foundation for this line. Christ the Lord is risen today. You'll always get one or two that'll get it, and they'll do it, and others will need some persuasion. So you've got to parse it. You've got to take it apart. And let's try to do it in the room where we are. We're going to use the word Christ. It actually occurs a lot in our songs. And we need to know that when we go for this word, we're giving honor to the person of Jesus Christ. We're giving value to his name and purpose and his anointing. So we can't sing it like we sing it when we're in the congregation. We have to give a dignity. So it has a beginning and a middle and an end, the word Christ. There's a K, there's an R, there's an I vowel, which is actually a diphthong. Cry, 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 cry. It's a diphthong. There's two sounds there. And then, of course, the ST, Christ. So even the way we say the word ensemble is going to sound different if we think of all the parts that need to be expressed. And when we think of the higher purpose, try together, 3 and 4. Christ. Vowel, Christ. The vowel in the middle of that wants to be elongated a bit, but it's the front end of the diphthong. The front end of the diphthong. Cra, Christ. Christ. Choral singers need to be able to objectify this, or it sounds like they're talking, or they're going to sing like they're talking, and they would talk Christ, Lord, Christ. They would go to the end. They would go to the flipped part of that diphthong. Christ, Lord. There's a wonderful YouTube video by John Dacre. John Dacre. And he sings, Christ the Lord is risen today. And it's a wonderful spoofy ensemble of students that led by this really humble piano teacher in a small community somewhere Midwest United States. And John Dacre sings Christ the Lord is. And if you want a good hoot, go and look at that. You don't want your choir singing like that because we've missed the opportunity in that vowel to have weight and meaning. Cry, the crack of the K, the R, which is sung, cry, cry. Even before the vowel starts, the R consonant is being sung. It's a sung consonant. It's Christ the Lord is, sing the phrase, 2 and 3, go. Christ the Lord is risen today. You didn't sing the Hallelujah. So that's the way I would break that down. I would take that one little word and I would make them live with it. I would make them experience the parts of it. I would make them want to visualize it because that's the way I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it all broken apart into its little component speech factors. And a choir needs to slow down the mental mechanism of communicating with words so that they understand that they are projecting this out into space, and they need to slow down what it means to speak. Now, you don't talk, Christ the Lord is risen. But if I were teaching it, I would actually, if I had a cold and I didn't want to sing, I would say, Christ the Lord is risen today. I would speak them the line in a chorally motivated way, connecting important words of the phrase and giving them a sense of the line. I would do that for them. I do it constantly throughout a rehearsal. You'll have to ask Kathy, when the camera and the microphone is on, whether or not I'm goofy all the time or whether I'm over the top all the time, because I don't know. I can't tell anymore. But this is the ratio that I try to work under. If I want my choir to sing at 80%, I have to do 125 in rehearsal and 100 in performance. I'm always conscious of being over the top because people need motivation. They need something to hang on to because they need to see it in their leader or they won't buy into it. While we're still on the topic of unlocking the soul of music using your personality, if you were a male, or if you are a male, you will want to embrace your feminine side. Now, boys, this is not to be feared. This will enrich your leadership tool bag, as it were, no pun intended. Much has been discovered and talked about in current popular culture about the equality of the sexes and the capacity of each that are shared between. So when I say there is more benefit from your personalities, males, if you embrace your feminine side, I hope you know what I mean. I'm asking you to embrace that which is traditionally accepted, primarily female-owned characteristics. Because the text and the music itself are vehicles of emotion, and that's what we need to share with the choir. And you won't be able to do that if you're guarded or resolute or stoic or putting your leadership hat on and you're standing there being all officious and official. You're being your male self. in command, in control somehow. Misguided, guys, misguided. Leave the rugby scrum outside and come to the rehearsal hall and the worship arena with all of your whole self, your feminine side and your masculine side, all ready to serve the leadership task. Okay. The time is gone. The time is gone. Okay. There's another page, page 10. Let's throw that out. I'm going to ask for questions. So if you got one, find a way of organizing that, John, so that we can take a few questions before the bewitching hour. Let me just say one more thing about males taking on their female important side. If you watch Dr. Harold Bergmeyer, if you watch Harold Bergmeyer in front of a band or a choir, you will know of what I speak. And I'm not talking about somebody that has effeminate mannerisms or is being flimsy. When you watch Dr. Bergmeyer, he is expressing something of his female attributes because he's allowing the musical phrases and the important words to rise to the surface. He's showing his choir and his band where the music needs to go. It's not very typical for a bandmaster, but it should be typical for a songster leader, a choir leader, to embody this feminine side. And that's certainly what I try to do. If you have a question, I'll be happy to take it. If not, I've got some short, punchy things to finish with.
Len, this is Carl Strand, and since I'm the same age as you, one of the questions that I do have for you is, since I'm probably one of the only people in this room that can remember when you were traveling around with those 7 young ladies, what difference do you...
Eat your heart out.
What difference did you do working with those young voices like that, especially the rich harmonies that they were dealing with, as opposed to the harmonization that you have now with the songsters, the teaching methods that you might have used?
Well, thank you for the compliment on being as young as you. That was early on in my journey as a leader, and I was really cutting my teeth with the New Life Singers. And back at that time, it was the Earl's Court Songsters. I was new into leadership. I was leading everything that I could find around. If they needed something at school, if I'd going to school, I was in. I led every choir I could get. The Baptist Choral Society, the Irish Choral Society, everything that I could find. I was cutting my teeth, and I would say that my approach began as I heard what landed and what didn't land. Because the guy at school was teaching me that such wonderful things, and I thought, oh, well, it's so obvious. I'm going to do this, and I started singing and adopting this choral understanding. And then when I tried to give it away to the girls or to the songsters, they weren't taking it up quick enough. So I had to unpack that and learn how to give that. And that's what's come to me over time. But I would say in the long run, I don't teach any differently now than I did then, but with a lot more understanding of the mechanics of word plasticity and shape. Yeah.
Questions? Pete's got one.
Hi, Len. It's Pete McBride.
Hi, Pete.
I have a question for a lot of these people who are leading groups, and they're not all vocal people in here right now. Some of them are. Some of them are doing some dance groups or trying to start some dance groups. And so most of us are operating with whoever comes to our core, which means that not everybody is equally talented, equally motivated, equally bold, or even equally accessible, but they still come. Is there anything you've done in any of your groups, or is there anything you're aware of doing that helps create any kind of culture that makes it safer for people to gamble or for guys to embrace their feminine side, for a reticent singer to dare to produce? You understand what I'm asking?
Yeah, Pete, I think everything that I've been trying to describe will go some distance to achieve that. And if you are laying it out there for the whole group, you know somebody's not going to get it. Some are going to get it if they try it a few times, and some will get it the first time, and some will never. So I think what you keep in front of you is a sense of put out the highest value, the highest requirement, the highest demands, and then watch to see where the dust settles. And then you come to terms with where you are.
Yeah.
And I've spent my whole life with really ordinary people. I mean, I did lead the ISS, and we have wonderful singers in the CSS. But I've spent the entire rest of my life with ordinary church people singing in the pew, and big mass events where you got to say one thing and you got an hour to do it, you know. And I've it's about getting them to come with you in the largest number you can, but only your own involvement in that whole thing is going to make it feel like they should bother.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't just make demands and expect people to love this experience. They love the experience because I love the experience. They're going to love singing because I love to hear them. What happens when we do stuff together? And I think when the leader shares the joy of the things that we achieve together, there's nothing sweeter. And I think that propels the group to want more and to want more.
Thanks.
Any other questions? What is your chance, like, or you can hear me, so I'm embarrassed. This is a chance, like, one of like the legends of choral music. It's your chance to ask them a question. All right, can I ask you a super nerdy question then? So, what would you say the difference is leading the international staff songsters versus the Canadian staff songsters? What's the biggest difference between those two groups?
Plummy vowels. My songsters sing like Canadians, and so we don't know how to say words like about and shout. At least not how you would say them. About and shout. Yeah, vowel singing. There is much more of a choral culture in the UK. So some of my singers came from British. When my kids went to school in Britain, they learned how to sing. So there's a singing culture there, which we don't share. But the vowels themselves, the way we shape them, I'm always saying, get rid of the R. Get rid of the R. Now, I'm trying to think of a word. Born. That one comes up a lot in Christmas music. If we're talking about the birth of Jesus, so it's the babe was born. You can hear it in the nose. It sounds Canadian, and when I do it for them and they hear it, they can change it, and they laugh at it. They don't want that. They want to sound, refined. So that would be the difference. The biggest difference. I like to take my Canadian choir halfway to Europe, middle Atlantic. I want to open up their vowels and make them a little more oblong. And that has to do with presence and head tone and opening up the airways and the color of the vowel. I bring them halfway to the Atlantic. And when I was in Britain, I brought that choir when we did gospel music, Andre Crouch and so on. I brought them halfway to America. I brought them to sing wider. You Can Depend on Me. We sang You Can Depend on Me with the ISS. And although it still had that kind of dignified pearliness and plumminess of their vowels, I worked at trying to stretch it out. So that was a lot of fun, actually.
Anything else, guys? Yeah. But by the way, next time we do this, I'm requiring you to come building.
My name is Sophia, and you said that when leading the group, you basically have to set the standard and let them know that it's okay to be vulnerable. So I was gonna ask how to like mentally, emotionally prepare yourself to always come in the room and set the standard and come in the room and bring the energy that you want to receive.
That's such a toughie. I mean, you're in charge of yourself, aren't you? You're in charge of your preparation emotionally and mentally. I know when Kathy walks in front of her classes at school, and she every day she stands in front of people and has to motivate them. And she's been doing it over a screen for the last year in COVID. How do you prepare yourself for that? Well, you think about it. You know exactly what you want to accomplish. That's how you prepare yourself. And if you know what you want to accomplish and you're excited to accomplish it, then it brings its own energy. You don't have to pump away at a dry well and not get anything. If you've thought about good things that need to be unlocked, then when you present them and you work on them and you achieve something, then it brings its own energy. I never have to worry about not having energy in a rehearsal, except when I'm sick. Yeah, I don't know if that answers the question at all, but there's certainly the emotionality of my leadership and the requirement of being vulnerable is a natural thing that becomes exposed as it's needed. It's not something that I contrive or I pre-plan. It would just come out in the way that I am talking, the way I'm describing things, the way I'm demonstrating, the way I'm gesturing, the way I'm working with people. That emotionality will be there if I've prepared good things. That's my answer.
Well, we are just about at the time, so I think what we should do first is thank Major Len. So give him a round of applause.